In 2020, because of COVID-19, traveling is out, but there's no reason you can't meet old and make new friends at an Agile conference. The Scrum Master Toolbox podcast teamed up with Tom Henriksen to organize the 4th year of the Agile Online Summit, and you can attend for free. There will be networking events, lots of talks on important topics, and 8 amazing keynotes from Mary Poppendick to Alan Holub, Jeff Patton, who's the creator of user story mapping, Neil Killick, who's a no estimates pioneer, Jeff Watts, author of Scrum Mastery, a great book for Scrum Masters, Jeff Gotthelf, Bob Galen, and our very own Marcus Hammarberg, who's the author of the Bungsu Story, a great Agile Transformation story. You can get your free tickets at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word. Once again, bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. All lowercase, all one word, and the link is also on the show notes. You can get your free ticket or opt for the full digital access that lets you keep all the conference videos forever. And for example, organize Agile learning sessions at work by watching those videos. You can get the full digital access at bit.ly/SMAOS 2020. But don't forget, there will be lots of live networking events, so I'll see you at the conference floor. Hello everybody, welcome to our Wednesday Leading Change episode this week with Adrienne Rinaldi. Hi Adrienne, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
So Adrienne, on Wednesdays we want to explore something that actually, for those of you who have heard the last 2 episodes, we do all the time, which is work with change, right? It can be a change at the personal level, like a team member or even ourselves. It can be a change at the team level, or it can be a change at the organizational level. As Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, we're constantly working with change. So walk us through one of those processes of change that you were involved in, and then, give special attention to those tools, the tips, the tricks, the techniques you learned back then that you still carry with you to this day.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I'll talk about my first experience in the world of agility. I had just passed my Scrum Master test, and I was immediately Scrum Mastering for a mobile application. We were building a survey for registered voters. When someone comes up to you with a clipboard and asks you to sign a petition, we digitized that to be more accurate. It was a pretty fun project or product to work on. But I was a deer in headlights when it came to working with the team on story writing, pointing, and even using the tool Jira. Those things can be taught in theory, but in reality, we need more training. I've been a part of many teams, from universities to food distributions to banks and governments and healthcare. And when it comes down to it, Agile will probably be new to most people and the organization. Of course, there are some that have used it before for many years, and they'll get it right off the bat. Most people are used to working from demands and silos. I've learned over time that while some may be very used to the Agile concept, some are not. And as Scrum Masters, as coaches, as servant leaders, we need to recognize when to adapt. What works for one team, what doesn't work for another. Training as a team, I think, is very important. Additionally, individual training for roles and tools is a big part of team success. It was a big part of how I eventually became, I believe, successful as a Scrum Master. Adopting the ideas of story sizing as a group effort. Others can get around the concept of that. Some can't get their head around ours. So you need to train together on how to size a story correctly, get on the same page, get the same consensus. Some people can work in an Agile tool with no problem. Others need additional training. I have definitely sat through many sessions with individuals on how to update Jira, how to update Rally. Again, we need to adapt to each team and individual to help them as a whole to become successful.
So, as a Scrum Master, I have a question related to that. So, you talk about, there are certain things we need to adapt. Like there's sometimes we need more training, sometimes less training, as an example. But probably as a Scrum Master, you have kind of a mental checklist of things you go through. Like you just join the team and you start to see how they act, how they interact, what kind of tools they're doing and they're using and how they are using those tools. What is your, Adrienne, what is your mental checklist of things you go through to see, okay, let me see where I, can have a positive impact, the things I can help the team with?
Well, a couple of things come to mind right off the bat. I absolutely love to do team norms. And secondly, I love to do a a story sizing workshop. Again, like I had mentioned before, that some people have a very difficult time with story sizing and some people don't. But if it's a team that has never worked together or has been working together for a while, sometimes their story points can vary depending if someone has a lot of experience or someone doesn't have as much experience. So I like to have a story sizing workshop where they talk about what is, high, medium, low, what is small, medium, and large. And then they put it into a matrix based on the work that they do. And so they can get an easy baseline. Well, this is a small and this is a low. So, we all poker plan and agree that that's a 1. Or, hey, this is a high and this is a high. Ooh, let's all poker plan and we agree that it's a 13. So when they come to story sizing during a planning meeting, then they can all, look on the board or their big piece of paper that says this type of work and this type of work. Ooh, we've discussed that before. We can all come to a consensus and have a pretty good idea when it comes to story points. So definitely a rebaselining of what points mean based on the work that they do. And I also like to have a strong backlog, and that is working with the teams and the product owners to really have a strong, healthy backlog.
So I do want to ask you about the strong and healthy backlog, but the one thing that I'm sure many Scrum Masters who just heard you are curious about that story sizing workshop. So do you have kind of an agenda or a format that you typically go to when you're setting up that story sizing workshop? What do you include in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a couple different columns that I write up on a big sticky note or a whiteboard. And in one column, it says risk and uncertainty. And then I separate it between low, medium, and high. And as a team, we discuss what is a low risk and uncertainty in the work that they do. For example, let's say they're working on a website. It is probably a low risk in updating a button color, for example. So they talk about the work, several different examples of a low risk and an uncertainty. What is unknown? What is a risk? Then we go through that through medium and high. So we give different examples of the different types of work. And perhaps there's more in the medium list than there is in the low or in the high, etc. Then we go on to duration and effort. I don't like to say time, but it's a little bit easier for people to conceptualize. So duration and effort. What is a small amount of effort? What is a medium amount of effort? A large amount, duration and things like that. So we get several examples based on the work that the team works on of risk and uncertainty, low, medium, high, and duration and effort, small, medium, and large. And then I write that in a matrix style. So on the left-hand side, I have risk and uncertainty, low, medium, high. And on the top, I have duration and effort, small, medium, and large. And then we take out our poker planning cards and we say, what is a low uncertainty and risk and a small duration and effort. And everybody, does poker planning and puts their cards down and comes to an agreement of what is a low and a small. That may be a 1, that may be a 2, and we write down, 1/2 or something like that. We go through that whole matrix. So then what is a medium uncertainty and risk and a small duration and effort? Again, we do poker planning until we get all of those filled out. And, after the team is going through several sprints, we look at it again. Does it make sense that a medium is an 8, or is it a 5? And we look at that continually to make sure that everybody has the same consensus of what a story point is for the team, because every team is different.
Absolutely. And then the last thing you mentioned, which I think is warrants a little bit more explanation, you say you like to work on having a strong and healthy backlog. So in your own words, what is that? What does that look like?
In my opinion, a strong and healthy backlog consists of stories, enough of a backlog to have at least 2 sprints worth of work that not only includes the description and acceptance criteria, but also has a definition of ready and a definition of done. Because if a team has stories in the backlog and they are not ready to be pulled into the team to be worked on, then they have several questions, and there's the potential of going back and forth and roadblocks that this story can't be completed in that sprint timeframe, whether that be 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I think having a good, strong, healthy backlog is very important to keep the team working in that sprint.
Absolutely. And also it enables a constant improvement in communication with stakeholders. Especially the concept of the definition of ready, which is not yet widely spread, unfortunately, where we define, what do you need before you accept the story to be ready for a sprint. And even that alone will create a lot of important and sometimes difficult conversations about the meaning of certain stories.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Adrienne.
Of course.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.